My family skipped my medical school graduation to celebrate my sister's promotion to assistant marketing coordinator at a local real estate firm. I stood in my cap and gown, phone pressed to my ear, listening to my mother explain why a dinner reservation was more important than watching me receive my MD. The auditorium buzzed with families claiming seats, cameras ready, flowers in hand. I watched my classmate Jessica embrace her parents, while her younger brother held a banner that read, "Dr. Park, we're so proud." My phone felt heavy. My mother's voice sounded tinny, rehearsed. "Sweetheart, you understand, right? Amanda worked so hard for this promotion. It's her first real career milestone. You've had 4 years of medical school. We've been to plenty of your events." They had been to exactly 2 events in 4 years. My white coat ceremony freshman year, where my father spent the entire reception on his phone handling a work emergency, and one clinical skills demonstration where my mother arrived an hour late and left early because Amanda needed a ride home from a failed date. I had paid my own way through medical school. Student loans totaling $237,000, part-time jobs at the hospital cafeteria, the campus library, transcribing medical records at midnight. My grandmother Margaret had given me $15 from her teacher's pension, money she had saved for 30 years, money my mother had tried to convince her to split with Amanda, to be fair. "We made reservations at the Heritage months ago," my mother continued. "Amanda specifically requested it. You know how much she loves that restaurant. And your father took the afternoon off work specially. The same father who had missed every one of my anatomy practicals, every research presentation, every moment that mattered. But he took an afternoon off for Amanda's assistant coordinator promotion. Mom, this is my medical school graduation. I know, honey, and we're so proud of you. But you're already a doctor now, right? The ceremony is just formality. Amanda's promotion is a real celebration. She beat out 5 other candidates. I had beaten out 3,000 applicants for my medical school spot. I had spent 4 years sleeping 4 hours a night, studying until my eyes bled, learning to save human lives. But Amanda's promotion to assistant coordinator, managing social media posts for a mid-tier real estate company, that deserved the Heritage restaurant and my father taking half a day off work. "We'll celebrate your graduation next weekend," my mother promised. "Just a quiet dinner, nothing fancy. You don't like being the center of attention anyway." She was right about that last part, which is why they had gotten away with this for so long. Sarah doesn't mind. Sarah understands. Sarah is so independent she doesn't need us like Amanda does. Through the phone, I heard Amanda's laugh in the background. "Is that Sarah? Tell her I said congrats. She's always been so smart. Medical school was probably easy for her." Easy. 4 years of hell. 4 years of watching classmates crack under pressure, drop out, develop anxiety disorders. 4 years of 90-hour weeks, of holding patients' hands as they died, of learning to stitch human flesh and crack open rib cages, and tell families their loved ones were gone. Easy. "I have to go, Mom. They're about to start." "Okay, sweetie. Take lots of pictures and send them to us. Amanda wants to see your graduation gown. She's thinking about getting her MBA eventually. She wants to know what graduate school ceremonies look like." I ended the call. Jessica appeared at my elbow, her face concerned. "Everything okay?" "My family isn't coming." Her expression shifted from concern to fury in seconds. "What do you mean they're not coming? Sarah, it's your medical school graduation. You're about to become a fucking doctor." "They have a dinner reservation. My sister got promoted to assistant marketing coordinator." Jessica's mouth fell open. She started to say something, stopped, started again. "I'm going to kill them. Sarah, I'm going to actually kill your entire family. Get in line." Dr. Helen Rodriguez, my mentor for the past 2 years, found us before the ceremony began. She took one look at my face and pulled me aside. "What happened?" I told her. Her expression remained professionally neutral, but her eyes darkened. Dr. Rodriguez had fought her way through medical school as a single mother, had clawed her way up from poverty to become one of Boston's top emergency physicians. She understood family disappointment intimately. "Sarah, I need you to listen carefully. You are about to walk across that stage and receive recognition for something extraordinary. You survived one of the toughest medical programs in the country. You excelled. You saved lives during your clinical rotations. You are brilliant, dedicated, and compassionate. Your family's inability to recognize that says everything about them and nothing about you. I know that intellectually, but emotionally, it still hurts like hell." "Yes," she squeezed my shoulder. "Good. Remember this feeling. Don't ever let it go. The people who matter showed up today. She gestured to the auditorium filling with families. Your grandmother is here, isn't she? Front row. She took a 5-hour bus ride from Springfield. Then you have someone who matters watching you graduate. Let that be enough for today. It wasn't enough. But I nodded anyway. The ceremony passed in a blur. I heard my name called. Sarah Mitchell, Doctor of Medicine, graduating with honors, and walked across the stage to receive my diploma. The auditorium erupted in applause, as it did for every graduate. I scanned the crowd and found my grandmother Margaret, tiny and frail in the front row, tears streaming down her weathered face, clapping with every ounce of strength in her arthritic hands. Jessica's family had adopted me for photos afterward. Her parents insisted on taking pictures with me, told me how proud they were, asked about my residency plans. Jessica's brother, who was 16 and wanted to be a doctor himself, asked me questions about medical school with genuine interest and admiration. My phone buzzed constantly. Text messages from Amanda documenting her celebration dinner. Photos of fancy cocktails, expensive steaks, the whole family smiling at the Heritage restaurant. My father had his arm around Amanda. My mother was holding up Amanda's promotion certificate like it was a Nobel Prize. Amanda sent a group text. Best day ever. So grateful for my amazing family who supports me no matter what. I didn't respond. I silenced my phone and focused on celebrating with people who had actually shown up. My grandmother approached slowly, using her walker. She had aged significantly in the past year. Her skin was paper-thin, her movements careful and painful. She refused to let me help her, batting away my hand with stubborn pride. My granddaughter, the doctor, she said, her voice cracking with emotion. Sarah, your grandfather would have been so proud. He always said you were special, even when you were tiny. Thank you for coming, Grandma. I know the bus ride was hard on you. I wouldn't have missed it for anything in the world. Not for anything. Her emphasis on those last words felt pointed, deliberate. Your parents called me this morning. Asked if I wanted to come to Amanda's dinner instead of your graduation. Said it would be more comfortable for me. Closer to home. Better food. My stomach dropped. They tried to convince you not to come. They suggested it might be too much travel for someone my age. That I should save my energy for Amanda's special day. She paused, her faded blue eyes sharp despite her physical frailty. I told them where they could shove their suggestions. I laughed despite everything. The sound startling and genuine. Grandma, I'm 76 years old, Sarah. I've earned the right to tell people to go to hell when they deserve it, and your parents have deserved it for years. We stood in comfortable silence, watching other families celebrate around us. Jessica's mother was organizing group photos. Dr. Rodriguez was talking with a group of graduating residents, her commanding presence drawing people to her like gravity. I gave you that money for a reason, my grandmother said quietly. The $15,000. Your mother was furious with me, accused me of playing favorites, of not being fair to Amanda. But I told her the truth. You needed it, and you earned it. Amanda has never worked a day as hard as you work in an hour. Mom tried to make you split it. She tried very hard. Called me selfish. Said I was damaging Amanda's self-esteem by showing favoritism. I told her that if Amanda felt bad about you getting educational money, maybe she should try going to school and earning some herself. She smiled grimly. That didn't go over well. My phone buzzed again. Another photo from the dinner celebration. My father was making a toast. The caption read, "To Amanda, who makes us proud every single day." I showed the photo to my grandmother. She looked at it for a long moment, her expression hardening into something cold and calculating. When she looked back at me, I saw anger there. The deep, quiet kind that doesn't explode but rather burns steadily, waiting for the right moment. How much do you know about your father's work? She asked suddenly. The question caught me off guard. He's an insurance adjuster. Why? And your sister's promotion. Do you know what it actually involves? Social media management for a real estate company, I think. Mom sent me the job description weeks ago, making sure I knew every detail of Amanda's responsibilities. My grandmother's smile was sharp. Interesting. Very interesting. She patted my hand, her grip surprisingly strong despite the arthritis. You're going to be a wonderful doctor, Sarah. You have the intelligence for it, certainly. But more than that, you have something your sister and your parents lack entirely. What's that? Integrity. And eventually, they're going to learn exactly how expensive it is to live without it. My residency at Boston Memorial began 2 weeks after graduation. Emergency medicine suited me. The chaos, the pressure, the constant problem-solving. I thrived in the controlled chaos of the ER, making split-second decisions that saved lives. Jessica worked in the same hospital, pediatric emergency. We grabbed coffee between shifts, compared horror stories about difficult attendings and impossible cases. She had met my family once during second year, when they had made a surprise visit to Boston. Surprise because they hadn't told me they were coming, just showed up at my apartment expecting me to drop everything and play tour guide. Your sister posted another humble brag, Jessica said, showing me her phone. Amanda's Instagram featured a photo of her at some marketing conference. Caption reading, "When you're the youngest person in the room but they still ask for your opinion, chat yours boss babe. Marketing queen, proud of me. She's been to 3 conferences in 2 months." I observed. That's a lot of travel for an assistant coordinator. Your parents are paying for it, right? Probably. Mom mentioned something about Amanda needing to invest in her career development. Meanwhile, I'm eating ramen and sleeping 4 hours a night. You're a resident. Ramen and sleep deprivation are part of the job description. Jessica paused. Have they asked about your residency at all? Mom called once to ask if I could help Amanda revise her resume. Apparently she's already looking for her next promotion. Of course she is. My grandmother's health had been declining. She called less frequently, and when she did, her voice sounded thinner, more tired. I drove to Springfield on my rare days off, brought her groceries, checked her medications, made sure she was eating properly. During one visit in late July, I found her organizing old photo albums. Pictures of my childhood, my achievements, science fair ribbons, academic awards, my acceptance letter to medical school. She had documented everything. Your mother never kept these, she said, running her fingers over a photo of me at age 12, holding a first-place trophy from the state math competition. Said she didn't have room for all that clutter, so I saved them instead. I didn't know you had all this. I have everything. Sarah. Every report card, every certificate, every moment they ignored or minimized. I kept it all. She looked at me with those sharp eyes. Because I knew someday you might need proof. Proof of what? That you were always extraordinary. That their neglect was deliberate, not accidental. That you deserved better than what they gave you. She pulled out a newer folder, this one filled with recent documents. Bank statements, printed emails, photographs I didn't recognize. My grandmother saw my confusion and smiled that grim smile again. I'm 76, Sarah, but I'm not senile. I notice things. And what I've noticed is very interesting indeed. She spread the documents across her kitchen table. Bank statements showing regular transfers from my parents' account to Amanda's. Thousands of dollars over the past 2 years. Emails between my mother and Amanda discussing keeping Sarah out of the loop about various family decisions. Photos of Amanda at expensive restaurants, wearing designer clothes, living a lifestyle that far exceeded her assistant coordinator salary. How did you get these? Your mother keeps her laptop at my house when she visits. She doesn't log out of her email, and she talks very freely on the phone when she thinks I'm napping. My grandmother's expression was cold satisfaction. I've been documenting their behavior for 3 years now. Since you started medical school, I stared at the evidence spread before me. My parents had been funding Amanda's lifestyle while I drowned in student debt. They had deliberately excluded me from family discussions, coordinated to prioritize Amanda in every situation, and documented their own favoritism in emails they never thought anyone would see. Why are you showing me this? Because you need to understand what you're dealing with. This isn't just parents playing favorites. This is systematic, intentional exclusion. And it's getting worse. She pulled out another document, a printout of a group chat between my parents and Amanda. The messages made my blood run cold. Linda Mitchell. Sarah's graduation is the same weekend as Amanda's promotion dinner. Robert Mitchell. Can we move the dinner? Amanda Mitchell. No, I already sent save the dates to everyone. Sarah will understand. She always does. Linda Mitchell. You're right. Sarah won't mind. She's not sentimental about these things. Robert Mitchell. Should we tell her in advance or just let her figure it out? Amanda Mitchell. Just tell her the day of. She'll be too busy with graduation stuff to care. They had discussed it, planned it, decided collectively that my medical school graduation was less important than my sister's dinner celebration. This wasn't thoughtlessness. It was calculated dismissal. There's more, my grandmother said quietly. Your sister's promotion. I did some research. She showed me Amanda's company website. The marketing team consisted of 3 people. Amanda wasn't an assistant coordinator. She was an assistant to the coordinator. Her actual job was scheduling social media posts and responding to basic customer inquiries. The promotion she had celebrated so extensively was essentially a title change with a 5% raise. My parents had skipped my medical school graduation for a title change. I'm showing you this now because you need to protect yourself, my grandmother said. Your mother called me last week, asked if I was planning to leave anything to you in my will. When I said yes, she suggested I should reconsider. That Amanda needs financial support more than you do because you have your doctor salary now. You have to be kidding. I'm not. She spent 20 minutes explaining why it would be fair to leave everything to Amanda, said you were already successful, and Amanda needed help establishing herself. My grandmother's voice hardened. I told her my will was none of her business. She hasn't called me since. I felt something shift inside me, something cold and clear. The hurt was still there, but underneath it now was something harder, understanding. Recognition that this would never change, never improve. My family had shown me exactly who they were, repeatedly, and I had kept making excuses for them. What do I do with this information? Right now, nothing. You document, you observe, and you wait. You're a doctor now, Sarah. You understand how to diagnose problems and treat them systematically. Treat this the same way. She smiled. And when the time is right, you'll know exactly what to do. Back in Boston, I started paying attention differently. I noticed patterns I had previously dismissed. My mother only called when she needed something. Help with Amanda's resume. Medical advice for free. Someone to listen to Amanda's achievements. My father never called at all. Amanda's social media was a constant stream of celebration, always highlighting what my parents did for her, never mentioning me except in carefully crafted posts designed to make her look generous and inclusive. Amanda's Instagram, August 15th. Family dinner with the parents. So grateful for their endless support. Blessed for your family first. The photo showed all three of them at an expensive restaurant. I hadn't been invited. Amanda's Facebook, August 22nd. Mom and Dad surprised me with a trip to New York for my birthday. They're the best. My birthday had been 3 weeks earlier. I had received a text message that said, "Happy birthday, sweetie," with no gift, no call, no acknowledgement beyond those 3 words. I showed the post to Jessica during a night shift lull. She read them with increasing disgust. This is psychological warfare. It's just Amanda being Amanda. No, Sarah, listen to me, this is deliberate. She's documenting their favoritism publicly, rubbing it in your face and framing it as gratitude, so she looks good and you look bitter if you complain. Jessica handed the phone back. Your sister is a narcissist and your parents are enablers. This is textbook toxic family dynamics. Dr. Rodriguez found us in the break room. You two look serious. Bad case? Bad family, Jessica said. Sarah's relatives are competing for Worst People of the Year award. I filled Dr. Rodriguez in on the recent developments. She listened without interrupting, her expression growing progressively darker. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. Sarah, I'm going to tell you something I learned the hard way. Family members who treat you as less valuable than your siblings will never stop. It doesn't matter what you achieve, how successful you become, how much you prove yourself. In their minds, the hierarchy is already established. You are the one they can take for granted, and your sister is the one who deserves celebration. So, what do? You protect yourself. Financially, emotionally, legally. You create boundaries they can't cross. And you build a life so successful, so fulfilling, that their opinion becomes irrelevant. She paused, and if the opportunity arises to show them consequences for their choices, you don't hesitate. September brought new complications. My grandmother was hospitalized with pneumonia. I drove to Springfield immediately, using vacation days I couldn't afford to take. She was in intensive care. Weak, but conscious, tubes and monitors surrounding her. My parents arrived 6 hours after me. Amanda wasn't with them. She had a marketing workshop she couldn't miss. How long have you been here? My mother asked, surprised to see me at my grandmother's bedside. Since this morning. The hospital called me first. I'm listed as her emergency contact. You're her emergency contact? My father's tone suggested this was somehow inappropriate. We're her daughter and son-in-law. We should be her emergency contact. Grandma changed it 2 years ago. Said she wanted someone who would actually show up in an emergency. My mother's face flushed. That's completely unfair. We would have come immediately if we'd known. You're here now. 6 hours later, I kept my voice neutral, clinical. The doctors say she should recover, but she needs rest. Visiting hours are limited to 15 minutes per hour. I watched them during their visit with my grandmother. My mother talked about Amanda's workshop, about how well she was doing, how proud they were. My father checked his phone constantly. Neither of them asked what the doctors had said, what the treatment plan was, when she might be discharged. When they left, my grandmother opened her eyes fully for the first time since they had arrived. They didn't ask about my prognosis. No, but they'll ask about my will soon enough. Your mother has been hinting at it for months. She thinks I'm going senile, that I'll forget what I planned. She coughed, the sound rattling and painful. Sarah, I need you to promise me something. Anything. When I'm gone, and I will be gone soon, don't let your mother's tears fool you into thinking she cared. I need you to honor what I've planned. I need you to be strong enough to do what's necessary. Grandma, you're going to be fine. No, I'm not. I'm 76, I have pneumonia, and my body is tired. I've lived a good life, but I need to know you'll be okay after I'm gone, that you won't let them manipulate you into feeling guilty or responsible for their disappointment. I held her hand, careful of the IV. I promise. Good girl, she smiled weakly. You're going to do extraordinary things, Sarah, with or without their approval. Remember that. She fell asleep and I sat with her through the night, watching monitors, checking vitals with professional detachment, while my heart broke privately. My grandmother recovered enough to go home, but her health never fully rebounded. I visited every week, driving the 3 hours round trip on my limited days off. She was frailer each time, moving slower, eating less. But her mind remained sharp, and she continued documenting my family's behavior with meticulous precision. Your mother called again about my will, she mentioned during one October visit. She's getting more aggressive, suggested I should consider Amanda's financial struggles, as if living in your parents' house rent-free while making $48,000 a year counts as struggling. What did you tell her? That my estate planning was final and wouldn't be changing. She asked if I'd seen a lawyer recently. I told her yes, just last month, and everything was updated and legal. My grandmother smiled grimly. She didn't like that answer. Through the fall, Amanda's social media presence intensified. Every minor work achievement became a major production. Every family dinner was documented and celebrated. The pattern was clear now that I was paying attention. She posted constantly about my parents' support, their pride, their involvement in her life. I was occasionally mentioned, usually as an afterthought or in contexts that made me sound distant and uninvolved. Amanda's Instagram, November 3rd. Family game night, Mom, Dad and me taking on trivia. Sarah's busy with doctor stuff as usual. The parenthetical made me sound like I had chosen work over family, when in reality, I hadn't been invited. Amanda's Facebook, November 18th. Parents treating me to a spa day because I've been working so hard. They're so thoughtful. Meanwhile, I was working 80-hour weeks in the ER, surviving on coffee and adrenaline, and my mother hadn't called in 3 weeks. Jessica confronted me about it in the hospital cafeteria. You need to say something. This is beyond favoritism. This is erasure. She's literally rewriting your existence in the family narrative. What would I say? Stop posting about how much our parents love you? That makes me sound jealous and petty. You are jealous. You should be jealous. They're treating her like royalty and you like an afterthought. Jessica stabbed her salad violently, and the fact that you can't even acknowledge your own anger about it shows how much they've conditioned you to accept mistreatment. She was right. But I didn't know what to do with that information. Confronting my family felt impossible. They would deny, deflect, make me feel guilty for being hurt. I had tried before, years ago, and been told I was being too sensitive, too demanding, that I didn't understand how hard it was to balance 2 daughters' needs. But they had never balanced anything. They had simply chosen one daughter and dismissed the other. Dr. Rodriguez noticed my distraction during a shift in late November. Your head's not in the game. What's going on? I told her about Amanda's social media campaign, about my grandmother's declining health, about feeling increasingly isolated from the family I had once desperately wanted approval from. She listened while we stitched up a patient who'd put his hand through a window, her movements efficient and precise. You know what's interesting about narcissistic family systems? She said, tying off the final suture. The scapegoat child often becomes the most successful one, because they're forced to develop actual skills and resilience. The golden child stays dependent and stunted because they never had to work for anything. Amanda's not stunted. She has a job and an apartment. Does she? I thought she lived with your parents. She does. But she's saving money for what? How long has she been saving? How long has she lived rent-free in their house while you paid your own way through medical school? Dr. Rodriguez's eyes were sharp. I'm betting she's been saving money for years but never actually moves out. Because why would she? She has all the benefits of independence without any of the responsibilities. I had never thought of it that way. Amanda was 24, had been working full-time for 2 years, and still lived at home. She claimed she was saving for a down payment on a house, but she was also taking expensive trips, eating at high-end restaurants, and wearing designer clothes. Where exactly was this money being saved? Your family has created a dynamic where your sister is perpetually a child who needs support, and you're perpetually the self-sufficient one who doesn't need anything. It benefits everyone except you. Doctor, Rodriguez finished with the patient and we moved to the next bay. Eventually, you're going to have to decide if you want to keep participating in that dynamic or if you want to blow it up entirely. The decision was made for me on December 15th. I was working a night shift when my phone rang. My father's number. He never called unless something was seriously wrong. I stepped into the hallway to answer. Sarah, your grandmother fell. She's at Springfield Memorial. They're saying it's bad. Hip fracture, possible internal bleeding. You need to come. I'm in the middle of a shift. I can be there in 3 hours. 3 hours? Sarah, she might not have 3 hours. She's asking for you. I found my attending, explained the situation. He approved emergency leave immediately. I was on the road within 20 minutes, still wearing my scrubs, pushing my aging Honda to its limits on the dark highway. I arrived at Springfield Memorial at 2 a.m. My parents were in the ICU waiting room. Amanda was absent. Where's Amanda? I asked. She had work in the morning. She said she'd come tomorrow if Grandma's still... My mother caught herself. If she's still in the hospital. If she's still alive, I translated mentally. Amanda couldn't be bothered to come say goodbye to our dying grandmother because she had work in the morning. I was allowed into the ICU. My grandmother looked tiny in the hospital bed, pale and bruised, breathing shallowly. But her eyes opened when I entered, and she managed a weak smile. My doctor, granddaughter, she whispered. Grandma, what happened? Stupid. Got up for water, dizzy, fell. Each word was an effort. Sarah, listen. Important. Don't talk. Save your strength. No. Important. She gripped my hand with surprising strength. Lawyer, Gerald Morrison, has everything. Will, documents, evidence, all for you. Promise you'll go see him. I promise. But you're going to be fine. Don't. Don't lie to me or yourself. I'm dying, Sarah. I know it. You know it. Hip fracture at my age, internal bleeding. She coughed, grimacing. I made peace with it. But you need to promise you'll follow through. Everything I planned, everything I documented. Gerald has it all. Grandma, promise me. Promise you won't let guilt or family obligations stop you from doing what's necessary. Promise you'll protect yourself and hold them accountable. I looked at this woman who had been my only real family, who had saved money from her teacher's pension to help me through medical school, who had documented years of mistreatment because she knew I would need proof someday. I promise. She relaxed slightly. Good girl. Now go talk to your parents. They're going to ask about my will. Don't tell them anything. What's in the will? Justice. She smiled faintly. Finally, justice. She died 4 hours later, just as the sun was rising. The internal bleeding had been too severe, her body too frail to recover. I was holding her hand when her heart stopped, and I felt something inside me stop too. The part that had kept hoping my family would change, would see me, would care. My mother cried dramatically in the waiting room. My father held her, looking uncomfortable and tired. I stood apart from them, dry-eyed and hollow, watching them perform grief they didn't really feel. We should call Amanda, my mother sobbed. She needs to know. She knew last night, I said quietly. She knew and chose not to come. She had work, Sarah. Not everyone can just leave in the middle of a shift like you can. I'm a doctor. I was in the middle of treating patients. But I left because Grandma was dying. Amanda schedules social media posts. But sure, her job was too important. My father frowned. There's no need to be cruel. Your sister loved Grandma just as much as you did. Did she? When's the last time Amanda visited her? Took her to a doctor's appointment? Called just to check in? They had no answer, because Amanda hadn't done any of those things. For the past 2 years, I had been my grandmother's primary caregiver while my parents and sister were too busy with promotions and dinner celebrations and spa days. We need to discuss funeral arrangements, my mother said, changing the subject, and her will. Did she say anything to you about her will? She said to contact her lawyer, Gerald Morrison. Oh, we know Gerald. He handled her estate planning. We'll call him Monday. My mother dabbed at her eyes. I'm sure she left everything to all of us equally. That's what fair mothers do. I said nothing. But I remembered my grandmother's final word, justice. The funeral was small, held on a gray December afternoon at the same church where my grandmother had taught Sunday school for 40 years. She had planned everything in advance, down to the hymns and the readings. I delivered the eulogy, my voice steady despite the grief, talking about her dedication to education, her quiet strength, her unconditional support. My mother cried throughout. Amanda cried harder, making sure everyone saw her grief. My father sat stoically, checking his watch twice during the service. Afterward, at the reception, I watched my family accept condolences and sympathy, while I stood alone near the back of the room. Jessica had driven down from Boston. She found me hiding in the church library. You okay? My sister has cried more today than during the entire past 2 years Grandma was declining. She visited maybe 3 times in 24 months, but now she's devastated. Performative grief. Classic narcissist behavior. Jessica handed me a bottle of water. When's the will reading? Next week. My mother has been texting me constantly about it. She wants to know if Grandma mentioned anything to me about her estate. What did you tell her? Nothing. Because I genuinely don't know what's in the will. I paused. But Grandma told me everything was handled, that justice was coming. Justice. Jessica smiled slowly. I'm starting to like your grandmother more and more. The will reading was scheduled for December 27th at Gerald Morrison's office in Springfield. My parents and Amanda arrived 15 minutes early. I arrived exactly on time, having taken the day off from the hospital specifically for this. Gerald Morrison was a distinguished man in his 60s, silver-haired and sharp-eyed. His office was filled with leather-bound law books and photographs of various clients and civic achievements. He greeted us with professional courtesy and gestured for us to sit. Thank you all for coming. I know this is a difficult time, and I'll try to make this process as straightforward as possible. He opened a thick folder. Margaret Sullivan came to me 3 years ago to update her will and establish several associated trusts and provisions. She was very specific about her wishes. My mother leaned forward eagerly. Margaret and I were very close. She knew how much I cared for her. Gerald's expression remained neutral, but something flickered in his eyes. Mrs. Sullivan left very detailed documentation of her relationships with each of you, including years of correspondence, photos, and recorded conversations. My father frowned. Recorded conversations? Your mother was very thorough, Gerald said, looking at my mother. She documented every phone call, every visit, every interaction for the past 3 years. She wanted to ensure there would be no confusion about her intentions or the reasoning behind her decisions. Amanda shifted uncomfortably. That seems excessive. Mrs. Sullivan felt it was necessary given certain family dynamics. Gerald pulled out the will. Let me begin with the smaller bequests. To Linda and Robert Mitchell, my daughter and son-in-law, I leave the sum of $5,000 each and my collection of family photographs. To Amanda Mitchell, my granddaughter, I leave my china set and the sum of $5,000. The room fell silent. My grandmother's estate was valued at approximately $400,000. Her house, her savings, her pension assets. $20,000 was nothing. There must be a mistake, my mother said. Where's the rest of her estate? To Sarah Mitchell, my granddaughter, Gerald continued, I leave my house and all its contents, all remaining financial assets including savings accounts, retirement funds, and investment portfolios, totaling approximately $380,000. Additionally, I established the Margaret Sullivan Medical Education Fund in Sarah's name, with instructions that she is to use these assets to complete her medical training debt-free and establish her career without financial burden. My mother stood up. That's not possible. She wouldn't do that. She wouldn't leave everything to Sarah and almost nothing to the rest of us. I assure you, Mrs. Mitchell, this is exactly what your mother intended. She was of sound mind when she created this will, and it was witnessed by 3 independent parties. Gerald pulled out another document. She also left letters explaining her reasoning. Would you like me to read them? Yes, I said quietly. Please read them. Gerald opened a sealed envelope. To my daughter Linda, I leave you $5,000 because that is approximately what you've spent on Sarah over the past 10 years, while spending over $50,000 on Amanda. I leave you photographs because memories seem to be the only thing you value about our relationship. You certainly didn't value my time, my health, or my opinions when I was alive. You asked me repeatedly to change my will to favor Amanda, claiming it would be fair. This is fair. You're receiving exactly what you gave Sarah, the bare minimum. My mother's face was white. She didn't write that. Someone influenced her. There's more, Gerald said. To Robert Mitchell, I leave you $5,000 because you contributed exactly nothing to Sarah's upbringing, despite being her stepfather since she was 5. You missed every important event in her life while attending every minor celebration for Amanda. You are receiving more than you deserve. My father's jaw clenched. This is absurd. To Amanda Mitchell, I leave you $5,000 in China because those seem to be the only things you value. Money and appearances. You visited me 3 times in 2 years while Sarah came every week. You called only when you needed something while Sarah called to check on my health. You celebrated your minor achievements while dismissing Sarah's extraordinary ones. You are receiving exactly what you gave me. Empty gestures and material objects without real substance. Amanda's performance of grief had evaporated. This is revenge. She wrote this will to hurt us. No, I said, finding my voice. She wrote this will to tell the truth. Gerald pulled out more documents. Mrs. Sullivan also left extensive documentation supporting her decisions. Bank statements showing the disparate financial support given to each granddaughter. Transcripts of recorded phone conversations where Mrs. Mitchell asked her to exclude Sarah from family decisions and finances. Photographs and social media posts demonstrating the pattern of favoritism. Medical records showing the stress-related health problems Mrs. Sullivan developed from family conflicts. She wanted to ensure that if anyone contested this will, there would be no question about her reasoning or mental state. We're contesting it, my mother snapped. This is clearly the result of undue influence. Sarah manipulated her, probably drugged her. I'm a doctor, I said coldly. If I had wanted to manipulate Grandma, I could have. But I didn't. I just loved her and showed up when she needed me, which is apparently more than the rest of you managed. Mrs. Sullivan anticipated potential contests, Gerald said. She included a no-contest clause. Any beneficiary who challenges this will forfeit their inheritance entirely. Additionally, she left a provision that if Sarah is harassed, intimidated, or subjected to family pressure regarding the inheritance, the $5,000 bequest will be revoked and donated to the Boston Medical Center Foundation in Sarah's name. My mother was crying again, but these weren't performative tears. These were tears of rage and shock. She was my mother. How could she do this to me? You did this to yourself, I said quietly. All of you. For years. You chose Amanda over me in every situation, every decision, every moment that mattered. Grandma just documented what you did and responded accordingly. We never chose Amanda over you. You skipped my medical school graduation to celebrate her promotion to assistant coordinator. You funded her lifestyle while I took out loans. You posted constantly about her achievements while barely acknowledging mine. You excluded me from family events and decisions and then gasped when she excluded you from her will. I stood up. You treated me like I was disposable, and now you're shocked that she treated you the same way. Amanda finally spoke, her voice shaking. You poisoned her against us. You spent all that time with her, turning her against her own family. I spent time with her because she was my grandmother and I loved her. If my presence made her realize how you treated me, that's on you, not me. This isn't over, my father said. We'll fight this. We'll prove she was manipulated. You can try, Gerald said mildly. But I should mention that Mrs. Sullivan recorded a video statement explaining her decisions. It's time-stamped, witnessed, and completely clear. She was of sound mind, speaking without coercion, and very explicit about her reasoning. The video is 15 minutes long and covers every aspect of the family dynamics she observed. If you'd like to contest the will, that video will be entered as evidence. The threat was clear. A video of my grandmother explaining in detail how my family had treated me would be public record in any court proceeding. Every bit of dirty laundry, every documented instance of favoritism and cruelty would be exposed for legal scrutiny. My mother seemed to collapse inward. She really hated us. No, I said. She didn't hate you. She was just done protecting you from the consequences of your choices. The news of the will spread through the family within hours. My mother's sisters called. My father's brother reached out. Distant cousins I hadn't heard from in years suddenly wanted to check on me during this difficult time. The narrative my mother was spinning was predictable. I had manipulated my grandmother, stolen from the family, destroyed their relationship with her in her final years. But Gerald Morrison had prepared for this too. He sent copies of selected documentation to family members who contacted him with questions. just enough to show the pattern of behavior without violating attorney-client privilege. Bank statements showing the financial disparity. Transcripts of my mother asking my grandmother to exclude me from her estate. Photos from social media showing Amanda's constant celebrations that I was excluded from. The family narrative shifted quickly once they saw the evidence. My mother's sisters stopped returning her calls. My father's brother sent me a message apologizing for years of believing I was just too sensitive about family dynamics. Distant cousins who had sided with Amanda initially sent awkward apologies. My parents and Amanda were left isolated. Their reputation in the extended family destroyed by the same documentation they insisted was fabricated or exaggerated. Amanda's social media went dark for 3 days after the will reading. When she returned, it was with a carefully crafted post, going through a difficult time with family. Sometimes the people you love most disappoint you, but I'm choosing to focus on gratitude and moving forward. Family first, jar staying positive. The comments were supportive at first, until someone, I never found out who, posted a link to an article about will contests and family manipulation. The article included general information about narcissistic family systems and scapegoat dynamics. Amanda's followers started asking questions. By mid-January, her social media presence had shifted from triumphant to defensive. Posts about her wonderful parents became less frequent. Photos from family events stopped appearing. She had built her entire online persona around being the beloved golden child, and now that narrative was crumbling. My mother tried calling me in late January. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail. "Sarah, we need to talk about this rationally. You're being unreasonable. We've always loved you and Amanda equally. If you felt neglected, that's your perception, not reality. We can work through this as a family if you just stop being so angry." I saved the voicemail and sent it to Gerald Morrison, who added it to his file documenting their continued attempts to rewrite history and gaslight me about their behavior. My father sent an email in early February. "Sarah, I've been thinking about your grandmother's accusations, and I realize there may have been times when we could have been more present in your life. However, you have to understand that Amanda needed more support than you did. You were always so independent and capable. We knew you'd be fine no matter what. Amanda needed more guidance. That's not favoritism. It's good parenting. If you can't understand that, then maybe you're not as mature as we thought." Even now, even after everything, he was justifying their choices and blaming me for being hurt by them. I didn't respond. There was nothing to say. Amanda tried a different approach. She showed up at Boston Memorial in late February, asking for me at the nurse's station. Jessica found her in the waiting room and came to warn me. "Your sister's here. She looks like she's been crying for a week. Wants to talk to you. Tell her I'm with Patience." "You are with Patience. That's not a lie." Jessica paused. "You want me to have security escort her out?" "No, just tell her I can't talk right now. If she waits, fine, but I'm not interrupting my shift." Amanda waited for 3 hours. When I finally came out, she was slumped in a waiting room chair, her phone clutched in her hands. She looked up when she saw me, and I was struck by how different she seemed. No makeup, hair pulled back messily, wearing sweatpants and an old college hoodie. This wasn't the polished, camera-ready Amanda from Instagram. "Sarah, please. I need to talk to you. I'm listening. Not here. Can we get coffee or something? I have 20 minutes before my next shift. We can talk here or not at all." She flinched but nodded. We sat in a quiet corner of the waiting room, surrounded by sick people and worried families. Amanda twisted her hands together nervously. "I didn't realize," she started. "I didn't understand how Mom and Dad treated you differently. I thought it was normal. That they were just proud of me because I needed more encouragement and you were fine on your own." "That's what Dad said too. It's a convenient excuse." "It's not an excuse. I'm trying to explain." "No, you're trying to justify. There's a difference." I kept my voice clinical, detached. "You didn't just fail to notice the favoritism, Amanda. You leveraged it. You documented it on social media. You made sure everyone saw how much more they loved you. You celebrated every moment I was excluded." "I didn't mean it like that." "Yes, you did. Every post about family dinners I wasn't invited to. Every celebration of their support that highlighted my absence. Every blessed and grateful caption that made it clear you had something I didn't." I leaned forward. "You knew exactly what you were doing. You just didn't think there would ever be consequences." She was crying now, genuine tears that didn't look performative for once. "I'm sorry, I really am. I didn't understand how much it hurt you. Because you didn't care. You had everything you wanted. their attention, their money, their pride. Why would you care that I had none of it? I care now. Please, Sarah, you're my sister. Am I? Because sisters show up for each other. Sisters protect each other. Sisters don't document their family's favoritism on Instagram for likes and validation. You were never my sister, Amanda. You were just the person our parents chose instead of me. What can I do to fix this? Nothing. There's nothing to fix. Grandma gave me what you all refused to: recognition, support, and justice. I don't need anything from you. So that's it? You're just cutting us all off? You cut me off years ago. You just didn't notice because I was so good at pretending it didn't hurt. I stood up to leave. Amanda grabbed my arm. The money doesn't even matter. Keep all of it. I just want my sister back. I looked at her hand on my arm, then at her tear-stained face. You never had a sister, Amanda. You had a scapegoat, someone to absorb the family's dysfunction so you could shine brighter. And now that the scapegoat is gone, you'll have to figure out who you are without someone to compare yourself to. I pulled my arm free and walked away. She called after me, but I didn't turn around. In March, my parents made their final attempt. They showed up at my apartment in Boston, unannounced, demanding to talk. I had anticipated this and had already warned my building manager that they might come. He had security escort them from the building when they refused to leave after being told I wasn't home. They left a letter taped to my door. I read it once, then filed it with Gerald Morrison. Dear Sarah, we understand you're angry, but this has gone too far. We are your parents and Amanda is your sister. Family is forever, and these grudges you're holding are destructive. Your grandmother poisoned your mind against us in her final years, and we forgive you for believing her manipulations. When you're ready to apologize and rebuild our relationship, we'll be here. But you need to make the first move. You need to show us that you value family more than money. Love, Mom and Dad. The letter was a masterpiece of manipulation. I was angry, dismissing my legitimate feelings, holding grudges, blaming me for their actions, poisoned, denying documented reality, and needed to apologize, reversing the responsibility. And it ended with making reconciliation conditional on me proving myself to them. Gerald read the letter and smiled grimly. Are they seriously asking you to apologize? And prove I value family more than money, by presumably giving the inheritance back. After skipping your medical school graduation for your sister's title change promotion, they have the audacity to lecture you about valuing family. He shook his head. Your grandmother knew exactly what she was doing. I settled my grandmother's estate through the spring. The house was sold, the money transferred to my accounts. I paid off my entire medical school debt. $237 gone in a single payment. The freedom was overwhelming. I was 26 years old, debt-free, with enough savings to feel secure for the first time in my adult life. I established the Margaret Sullivan Medical Education Fund as my grandmother had wanted, using part of the inheritance to create scholarships for medical students from families who couldn't or wouldn't support their education. The first recipient was a young woman whose parents had disowned her for choosing medicine over the family business. I understood her story intimately. My parents tried a few more times to reach me. Emails, cards, messages through extended family members. Each attempt was the same. Minimize their behavior, blame me for being hurt, demand reconciliation on their terms. I responded to none of them. Amanda's social media eventually resumed its regular posting, but the tone had changed. Less focus on family, more on her independent achievements. She moved out of my parents' house in April. Whether by choice or necessity, I didn't know and didn't care. Her online presence became smaller, more cautious, less performative. My mother's sisters told me that family gatherings had become tense and awkward without me. My absence was noticed, questioned, discussed. My parents had tried to maintain their narrative of being the victims of my cruelty, but too many people had seen the evidence now. The extended family knew the truth. By June, 1 year after my medical school graduation that my family had skipped, I had completed my first year of residency with honors, was completely debt-free, and had built a life surrounded by people who valued me. Jessica, Dr. Rodriguez, my boyfriend David, who had been unwavering in his support, colleagues who respected my work, patients whose lives I saved. I didn't need my family's approval anymore. I had something better, proof that I had never needed it in the first place. 2 years after my grandmother's death, I stood in the newly opened Margaret Sullivan wing of Boston Medical Center, a pediatric emergency department I had helped design and fund with part of my inheritance. My grandmother had wanted her legacy to help children, and this felt right. A bright, welcoming space where sick kids could receive care regardless of their family's ability to pay. Dr. Rodriguez stood beside me at the dedication ceremony. Your grandmother would be proud. I hope so. She knew you'd do something meaningful with the inheritance. That's why she gave it to you. Dr. Rodriguez paused. Have they tried to contact you recently? My mother sends a card every few months. Always the same message. We love you, we miss you, we hope you'll come home. No acknowledgement of what they did, no real apology, just a standing invitation to resume being the family scapegoat. And your sister? Amanda got engaged last month. I saw it on Instagram through a mutual friend's story. She didn't invite me to the engagement party, but she posted a long caption about how much she's grown and learned about what really matters in life. Very enlightening, very mature. Still no actual apology. Jessica appeared with champagne for the toast. The dedication's about to start. You ready? I looked around at the pediatric ER. Bright murals on the walls, child-sized furniture in the waiting room, play areas to distract scared kids from medical procedures. The staff was handpicked, trained in trauma-informed care, dedicated to treating every patient with dignity regardless of their background. This was my grandmother's real will and testament. Not just money, but a mission. She had given me the means to create something that would help people long after we were both gone. She had seen potential in me that my parents never bothered to look for. During the ceremony, I gave a speech about my grandmother's commitment to education and children's welfare. I talked about how she had taught me that family wasn't just blood. It was showing up, paying attention, caring about someone's life beyond what they could do for you. I didn't mention my parents or sister by name, but everyone who knew the story understood the subtext. The extended family members who attended, my grandmother's sisters, my father's brother, several cousins, understood exactly what I was saying. After the ceremony, my father's brother approached me. Uncle James, whom I hadn't seen since the funeral. That was a beautiful tribute to your grandmother, Sarah. Thank you. Your parents didn't come today. Linda said the hospital dedication wasn't a family event, so they didn't need to attend. He shook his head. They still don't get it. No, they don't. And they never will. For what it's worth, I'm sorry I didn't see what was happening when you were younger. I dismissed your mother's favoritism as typical sibling rivalry. I should have paid more attention. It wouldn't have changed anything. They had made their choice. Maybe, but you deserved better than what they gave you. He paused. You've done well for yourself, Sarah. Better than any of us expected. You mean better than they expected? Yeah, better than they expected. He smiled slightly. Margaret always said you were the strong one, the one who would survive and thrive no matter what they threw at you. She was right. My career flourished. Emergency medicine suited me. The constant challenges, the immediate results, the ability to help people in their worst moments. I became known for my composure under pressure, my diagnostic accuracy, my ability to remain calm when everyone else was panicking. Dr. Rodriguez said I had the makings of an excellent trauma surgeon if I wanted to pursue that path. Jessica said I should teach, that residents would benefit from my methodical approach to emergency medicine. I considered both options while continuing to work shifts that kept me too busy to dwell on family drama. David proposed in October, in the pediatric ER I had helped create, surrounded by the bright murals and child-sized furniture, and evidence of what I had built from my grandmother's faith in me. It was perfect. Not romantic in a traditional sense, but meaningful in ways that mattered more. We planned a small wedding for the following spring. I invited Dr. Rodriguez, Jessica and her family, colleagues from the hospital, friends I had made during residency. I invited Uncle James and my grandmother's sisters. I invited the extended family members who had supported me after the will reading. I did not invite my parents or Amanda. My mother found out about the wedding through Uncle James. She sent a letter, not an email or text, but an actual handwritten letter on expensive stationery, as if the formality would make her words more legitimate. Dear Sarah, we were heartbroken to learn about your wedding plans through extended family rather than from you directly. Despite our differences, we are still your parents, and Amanda is still your sister. We want to be there for your special day. We've respected your need for space these past years, but surely a wedding is an appropriate time to reunite family. We hope you'll extend an invitation so we can celebrate this milestone together. We love you and want to be part of your life again. Love, Mom and Dad. I showed the letter to David. He read it twice, then looked at me. What do you want to do? Nothing. They're not invited. Are you sure? I support whatever decision you make, but I want to make sure you won't regret it later. I won't regret it. You know what I would regret? Having them at our wedding, watching them perform for an audience, seeing them pretend to be proud of me while internally resenting that they weren't the center of attention. Having Amanda post pictures on Instagram about how happy she is for her sister, making it all about her generosity in forgiving me. Having my mother cry beautiful tears and tell everyone how grateful she is that we've reconciled, without ever acknowledging what they did or why I left. Okay, then they're not invited. They'll make a scene. They'll tell the extended family I'm being cruel and vindictive. Let them. Anyone who matters already knows the truth. The wedding was beautiful, small, intimate, surrounded by people who actually knew and loved me. Dr. Rodriguez gave a speech about resilience and chosen family. Jessica was my maid of honor, crying through her toast about friendship and survival. Uncle James attended and told stories about my grandmother, about her strength and her fierce protection of people she loved. My parents were not there, Amanda was not there, and their absence was noted by everyone who attended, understood by everyone who knew our history, and frankly, a relief to me. We honeymooned in Ireland, where my grandmother's family had originated generations ago. We visited small villages and ancient castles and windswept cliffs. We were far from Boston, far from Springfield, far from family drama and old wounds. When we returned, there was a letter waiting, this time from Amanda, not our parents. Sarah, I know you don't want to hear from me. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. But I need you to know that I understand now what I did, not just the Instagram posts or the celebrations you weren't invited to, but the whole dynamic. I was complicit in making you invisible. I benefited from their favoritism and never questioned why you were always the one who had to be understanding, always the one who had to sacrifice, always the one who got less. I'm in therapy now, working through a lot of stuff about family dynamics and narcissism and golden child syndrome. My therapist helped me see how toxic our family system was, and how I participated in your mistreatment, even when I thought I was just living my life. I'm not asking you to forgive me, or let me back into your life. I'm just asking you to know that I see it now. I see what they did to you, what I did to you, and I'm sorry. I know that's not enough, but it's all I have. I hope you're happy. I hope your wedding was beautiful. I hope you build a life that never includes people who treat you the way we treated you. Amanda. I read the letter twice. It was more self-aware than anything Amanda had ever written to me. The therapy language was obvious, but the sentiment seemed genuine. She wasn't asking for reconciliation or making excuses. She was just acknowledging reality. That's progress, David said when I showed him. It doesn't change anything. I know, but it's still progress. I filed the letter away with the rest of the documentation. Years of evidence of family dysfunction, now including one family member's acknowledgement of their role in it. I didn't respond. There was nothing to say that would matter. My parents never achieved Amanda's level of self-awareness. They continued to maintain that they had been good parents who loved both daughters equally, that I was oversensitive and holding grudges, that my grandmother had manipulated me in her final years. They told this story to anyone who would listen, but fewer and fewer people were listening. 3 years after my grandmother's death, my mother's sister invited me to Thanksgiving at her house. Your parents won't be there, she assured me. I told Linda that if she wanted to attend, you wouldn't be invited. I chose you. The whole family chose you. And they had. One by one, extended family members had chosen to believe the evidence over my parents' narrative. They had chosen to maintain relationships with me, rather than enable my parents' dysfunction. The family gatherings continued, just without my immediate family present. It was strange, attending Thanksgiving with aunts and uncles and cousins, but no parents or sister. Strange, but also liberating. I didn't have to perform gratitude I didn't feel or pretend everything was fine. I could just exist, valued for who I was, rather than dismissed for who I wasn't. Your grandmother would love this, my great-aunt said, watching me laugh with cousins I had reconnected with. She always said you deserved better than what Linda gave you. She'd be thrilled to see you here, happy, surrounded by family who actually appreciates you. 5 years after my medical school graduation, the one my family had skipped for a dinner celebration, I was named Boston Medical Center's Resident of the Year. The award ceremony was well attended. Dr. Rodriguez, Jessica, David, colleagues, friends, extended family members, and my grandmother's sisters. During my acceptance speech, I thanked my grandmother for her support and sacrifice, for believing in me when others didn't, for showing me that family was about showing up rather than just showing off. Everyone who knew the story understood exactly what I meant. My parents were not there, Amanda was not there, and I didn't miss them. After the ceremony, Uncle James approached me with an update I hadn't asked for. Your mother called me last week, asked if I was going to your award ceremony. When I said yes, she asked me to give you a message, that they're proud of you. They always have been. And they hope someday you'll let go of the past and forgive them. What did you tell her? I told her that if she was actually proud of you, she would have showed up to your medical school graduation. And that forgiveness requires acknowledgement of wrongdoing, which she's never been willing to give. He smiled. She didn't like that answer. I imagine not. For what it's worth, Sarah, you made the right choice. Some people never change, never take responsibility, never stop being toxic. All you can do is protect yourself and build a life they can't poison. I had done exactly that. Built a career, a marriage, a chosen family, and a legacy that honored the one person who had truly seen me. My grandmother had given me more than money. She had given me proof that I deserved better than what my parents offered. That proof had been enough to help me walk away and never look back. The Margaret Sullivan Medical Education Fund supported its 20th scholarship recipient this year. 20 medical students from unsupportive families given the chance to pursue medicine without financial burden or family sabotage. 20 young doctors who would understand, intimately, that family is what you make it, not what you're born into. My grandmother's legacy was alive in those 20 students, in the pediatric ER that bore her name, in the life I had built from her faith in me. She had won her final battle against the family members who had dismissed and diminished me for years. She had given me the tools to not just survive, but thrive. And every time my mother sent another card hoping I would come home and forgive, every time Amanda posted something about growth and maturity without actual amends, every time my father claimed they had been good parents who didn't deserve this treatment, I remembered my grandmother's final words. Justice. Finally, justice. I had it, and I was never giving it back.